part 2 of the book. Interesting point I brought up to the doctors, what they seemed not too interested during Karen's first pregnancy. She tested positive for lupus, which after her pregnancy went away, and I have concern. I wish they look into a little more. I think there may be a connection as early detection as far as cancer. Maybe testing positive for lupus was a sign that the cancer cells were producing at that time. Maybe the doctors don't want to tell us, or maybe they've looked into it and determined it negative. Who knows? They wouldn't tell me. Getting back to the positives, having the first child in our life was simply amazing. It's the best feeling in the world. Knowing that you and your love created life. And the love you feel for a child is like no other. You're so beautiful, so innocent, so cuddly, stinky, poopy. It's all worth it. Our first time changing Devin's diaper, he peed in my face. But live and learn. It was fine. Probably the only time I've been peed in my face, and I laughed, that's for sure. So about a few years went by and we decided we'd have another child. And that was great too. That was kind of weird because Karen had a C-section with Devin, so for Dylan, we were able to schedule an appointment to go in and have him taken out of Mommy. But it was still just as magical. Same thing, curtain up, Karen's arms tied down, and out comes Dylan. Second most proud. Another very, very proud moment in our lives. They brought Dylan over to me and I held him as close as I could to Karen again. Karen was able to breastfeed both children. They were unable to latch onto one of her breasts. Getting a little personal here, but maybe tied to the cancer. As a child, she would pick at one of her nipples as a nervous habit, and as a result, it was a little deformed. So I think that's why the babies had a hard time latching on. But once you know it, that breast that they could not latch onto was the breast that the cancer was found in. So all the women out there, if you're able to breastfeed, I think it definitely helps. And it's also very healthy for the babies and yourself. Although I did take a sip one time, and it's not my cup of tea, that's for sure. But babies love it. So we found the cancer. Karen felt some discomfort in her left breast. And she wore an underwire bra for the first time, and that's when she felt a lot of pain. And we could feel a lump in her breast, but it was so big that we figured it was a muscle spasm or something to that degree. And we decided to go in, and they did do a mammogram, and that's when they told us there is a tumor there. I remember going into the breast cancer center and seeing the different size tumors for breast cancer and different stages and all that. And the biggest one they had there was maybe the size of a golf ball, if that. And Karen's was the size of a baseball, so that scared me right away. They didn't waste any time. They immediately started on the strongest chemo treatments that they had. That was 8 weeks. Every other week she would go in and have the chemo treatment. 24 hours later, she'd go back and get a steroid shot to help build back up her important cells that the chemo, because chemo treatments basically kills all your cells. Karen always had very long, beautiful hair. You know, as her cells were dying from the chemo treatments, her hair started to fall out. She had no problem at all allowing my very close cousin Diane, who's a hairdresser, cut her hair off. Karen was determined to do whatever it took to stay here, to be with her children, and to be with all of us. Didn't even faze her. Her treatments ran into the holidays. I remember Christmas Eve going in with her to get her steroid shot. They did it right in the hallway, and she made all the staff there chocolate chip cookies. Just an amazing, incredible type of woman Karen was. So after recovering from her chemo treatments, she had a radical mastectomy done on her left breast, where they removed her breast and quite a few of her lymph nodes, because the cancer did spread into her lymph nodes. She took that in stride too. It's very difficult, uncomfortable, having tubes coming out of your body for a couple weeks. She said that was the most painful part. It was also very painful after coming out of the shower and seeing yourself in a mirror. I had to assure her every day she was still beautiful, and I still felt a desire and want and need to make love to her. Hopefully that made her feel better. It seemed to. But so after her body recovered from the radical mastectomy, she went a further step and did radiation treatments to basically isolate the area where the cancer was, so if there was anything left there, it couldn't spread anywhere. So after recovering from the radiation treatments, which is very uncomfortable too, you know, generally it's like a laser that burns and solders your body, you know, obviously burns your flesh as well. Gave it some time, she recovered from that, and then they offered to do what is called a deep lap surgery, DIEP, where they can take tissue from other parts of your body to reconstruct your breast. So we decided to have her right breast removed all at the same time, and then reconstruct them by using her stomach tissue. That way there we would never have to worry about the breast cancer coming back, because, you know, both breasts would no longer be there. That was a very long, intense surgery that lasted a lot longer than it was supposed to. Come to find out, they found out she had a hernia while they were operating on her, and they fixed that. And a deep lap surgery, when they moved the tissue and put it in a new area. They have to connect all the blood vessels and muscles and all sorts of amazing things these surgeons and doctors do. And the human body is just amazing. So she said the worst part of that was when she came to, when the anesthesia wore off a little earlier than expected, and she had the tubes down her throat, and she was alone in a dark room, basically drowning with the tubes in her mouth, not knowing what was going on. She made it. She's very, very strong. When I come back, I will talk about the amazing healthy years we had prior to the cancer coming back.